Okay, so starting with Delon's eye spacing, it's actually flawed at 43.6%. Again, we want this at 44.5% roughly at the low end. And the reason this is flawed is actually more so that he has a very wide face, because when you look at him, it's not like his eyes stand out as being very close set. And on top of this, his eyes are 0.95 eye widths apart. And this kind of leads him to have a pretty good appearance in his eye spacing. He simply just has very laterally projected zygomatic bones, cheekbones, as you guys can see. They just go out really far. And if he had flatter zygos, then his eye separation ratio would be ideal. He has an ideal positive canthal tilt of 7 degrees. Perfect. However, we also see another flaw in his eye region, which is his eye aspect ratio. It varies between photos depending on how he's squinting, but it's 2.6 times to 2.7 times taller than wide. And as you guys probably know, that is a flaw. Ideally, we want it to be 2.8 to 3.6. So again, this is another this is a slightly feminizing feature. It is a minor flaw. Overall, his eye region is still quite good, especially when we factor in his eyebrows. His eyebrows are dark, they're positively tilted ideally, and they're also very low set. So we saw with Brad Pitt, his ratio was around 88%. Delon's ratio is 91%. So Delon actually has categorically low set eyebrows. So this is great. Overall, I'd rate his eye region like an 8.5, an 8 to 8.5. It's still very good, just that slight spacing issue and that slight roundedness issue. Now moving to the side profile, he has a very good side generally. We do see one flaw, and that is his brow ridge. His nasofrontal angle is feminized at around 144 degrees. Now it's previously been measured at a lower angle, but I think the images used weren't as good as this one. It definitely does have a very flat brow ridge, kind of reminiscent of Chico's. We look at someone like Sean O'Pry, he has a very acute nasofrontal angle. Like his frontal bone is protrusive beyond his nasion. When we look at Delon, we can see this is his brow ridge, this is his nasion. There's not this contour. There's not this contour. It's very flat and feminine. Not a big deal. I mean, if we look at other aspects, he has a long ramus, an acute gonale angle. He has a good mandibular plane inclination. He passes the lip assessments, which this is a nice trait. All 4 for 4. It's always a good sign. Again, we see a little bit of a flaw with his dorsum and the nose. It's really a minor flaw. His nasolabial angle is still ideal. The only other flaw he has is that his profile is a little bit too rounded. The convexity is a little bit too rounded, and that's just because, again, the brow ridge could just be out a little bit more. That's really his only notable flaw from the side profile. It's still got 82.4% side profile harmony, which that's very good, very high score. Moving back to the front, we'll just look at some general stuff. His facial thirds are perfect, very masculine, 32%, 32%, 36%. That's literally perfect. He has a compact facial width to height ratio of 1.9, perfect. He has a wide neck in proportion to his jaw, which is great. He has a good mouth to nose width ratio of 1.43, which is great. His total face shape is near perfect at 1.34 times taller than wide, which is literally a nearly perfect face shape. The first issue we run into from his front, the really main issue is actually his jaw from the front profile. So again, his jaw width is 84% of his zygomatic width. And again, this is kind of just because he has very laterally projected zygos. Now in his case, I do still think the jaw should be wider even if he didn't have these very projected zygos. So this is a small flaw. And also his jaw frontal angle is a little bit too acute at 84 degrees. Again, we want this at 85 to 95 degrees. Very small flaw. He still has a good chin to philtrum ratio, so that's ideal. Of course, he has a perfect 1-to-1 mid-face ratio, and he has quite high set zygos. His zygos are actually one of his best features. Very masculine, well projected. It's great. Overall, his front profile scored 83.8% when I scored him, and I think I did this the best. I carefully considered this. So 83.8%, and his overall harmony score is 83%, which this is really good facial harmony in the upper tiers of facial harmony. Now again, just like Brad Pitt, there are faces with 83% harmony that easily can reach the 9 out of 10 tier, because my formula considers all factors a bit differently than other formulas. So you can absolutely be a 9 out of 10 with 83% harmony. You could even be a 9.5. In Delon's case, we're going to look at some things that do not make him a 9, and we'll get into that. So let's talk about Delon's dimorphism first, okay? And this is going to be probably contended, but I think I have very good evidence for why it is what it is. So I gave Delon a 7 out of 10 in dimorphism, and I have a formula that I use for dimorphism for every single face. It basically accounts for the main main ratios that sway either feminine or masculine. And then it also takes into account things like brow darkness and things that aren't measurements that are dimorphic. And someone like John Eric Hexum, for example, is 9 out of 10 dimorphism. Delon got a 7 out of 10 in my formula. I think this is completely fair. Compare these faces, right? The bone robusticity, the jaw width, the eye shape, etc. The feminized brow ridge in Delon's case as well. He does look like a man, but his dimorphism is just simply not in the upper echelons. And next we have to talk about angularity. So I'm not going to consider things like this for his angularity because I don't think this was his prime. Here's the most generous picture to his angularity, okay? And let's use this photo for his prime. I would put it at around, this is the most arbitrary and subjective area of all of my ratings, is the angularity. You actually have to quantify it visually. There's no formula for it. There's a chart that I reference, but this is arbitrary to an extent. So he's quite lean here. We can see nice zygo tapering, nice zygo prominence, some leanness in the cheeks. This photo also highlights how his jaw is simply not very robust though. It's not bad, but it's just simply not in that upper echelons of a jaw. Here, I would put him in around 8 to 8.5 facial angularity. I'm going to give him 8.5 for the benefit of the doubt. I can see it there. A lot of his life, he simply wasn't at this level of facial angularity, like here, for example. Pretty lean here. But here, I mean, this is like a 5 out of 10 angularity. We won't consider that. Here, closer to like a 7 angularity, okay? So here, closer to like a 6.5. Here, look at the submental. I mean, that's like not really good at all, actually. Like, now here, this is closer to an 8 again. So just for consistency, we'll give him around an 8 to 8.5. We'll play around with that. And lastly, we need to talk about his features. So the main issue with his features is his chin shape is just simply not, we don't have the lateral concavity we want. It's simply too round. Again, his under eye region isn't too great. Often has bags and dark circles. And then again, the last flaw is just simply the nose shape from the side. It's not a big flaw at all, very minor deduction. He also has some patchiness in the eyebrows and not the best shape. It's too vertically tall. So when we consider everything, he gets an 8 out of 10 in his prime for features. And again, I use a formula that's consistent for everyone. So overall on my scale, don't get freaked out by the number. I have Delon at an 8 out of 10. And this is the same as Brad Pitt to kind of contextualize my rankings. Prime Brad Pitt, prime Alain Delon. And I think this is completely fair. This is what I would have put him at. Again, we'll look at this. Here's the breakdown. 8.3 harmony. I gave him an 8.5 in angularity. Okay. 7 in dimorphism and then an 8 in features. That's his breakdown. I see it as completely fair. Again, the estimated distributions for how rare this face is, it's completely a guess. Like, I think he'd probably be the best looking out of tens of thousands of men for sure. Right. But is he somewhere like this, which is a 9 out of 10? No. And I could see that before I even analyzed Alain Delon. I knew he wasn't getting over an 8.25 objectively. There's no way around it. I already could tell that. I'm pretty confident in this rating because the only thing that's really debatable is his angularity, and it's definitely not going up. That was generous in my opinion. Really, I could even see him at a 7.75. If you gave him an 8 in angularity, he'd be at a 7.75, and that's more reflective of how his angularity normally looks. So again, 8 out of 10, I can't stress enough. It's very good looking. There's very few faces that break an 8 out of 10 on my scale, even among the best faces, okay? He's just simply not in that John Eric Hexum level objectively. He's just not there, and I think that's expected. So again, thank you for watching. If you want to get your face rated by me, they're just $5. I'm accurate, I'm honest. Also, I do full analysis if you want a breakdown more like this. And also my community is open, so if you want to improve your looks and get results like I've helped so many other people do, just $19 right now. You'll get a full course to improve your looks and learn more about faces. So yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next time.